Yes. What am I doing? Yes. This video is not sponsored by Heinz, by the way. But Warren Buffett, if you want to send me a paycheck after I'm done with this video, because trust me, the story that you're about to learn by watching this video, I have no clue how long this video is going to be, but however long it's going to be, the Heinz brand is something out of a Disney movie. If you sit back and learn about it, you're about to become touched and smarter by the end of this video. And hopefully your altruism also goes up by the end of this video. Because you ever hear a story and you're like, ain't no way, my guy. Ain't no way that this actually happened the way you're saying it actually happened, but it did. Because if it didn't, how on earth am I holding a Heinz tomato ketchup product in my hand? Okay, this is proof that this actually happened. This story needs to be told because it is insane. When a great idea strikes, like ketchup, it changes the whole world. And I'm not talking about just making your food taste better, literally enhancing everyone's life experience beyond ketchup. This shit changed the way that I view the world, okay? Because you see everything around you. At some point, the thing that you're looking at was an idea in someone's head. And that person had enough of a spirit and enough energy inside of them to take that idea and manifest it into something real. The people that create things have the same faith as the people that don't create nothing. Everybody dies. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of the video. I'm just kidding. Huge but, okay? But the difference is the people that created things, after they are long gone, after they're dead, we get to live in a world that is shaped by the ripple effects of what they've caused when they were alive. In my opinion, the present is just like a report card of what the past did. Because based on what you do in the past will dictate the present that you're living in now. Vote for me for president. No, I'm just kidding. And every one of us has the ability to cause a ripple effect. It is not narcissistic to believe that you are important and that every choice that you do does impact everybody else. We live in a society, after all. Your influence matters. The fact that politicians spend millions, $100 millions of dollars to get your attention is enough proof to know that you matter. Whatever you decide has great influence. Every one of us matters, and every one of us is causing a ripple effect. Even something as stupid as ketchup has caused such a ripple effect. It is one of those ideas that changed the world. Because the person that started the Heinz Corporation did so with a mission. He made sure that even after his passing, the planet should be left better than how you inherited it. Evil stands for nothing. Like literally. Evil stands for nothing. So if you stand for nothing, I'm sorry to inform you, but evil has no rhyme or reason. Evil, you don't need to understand it. Evil stands for nothing. So I think it's important to live life with purpose. And the story behind Heinz, the corporation, and the family is one of those like testaments that when you try to do good, it lives on. Because, you know, in my last video, I talked about how Netflix needs to make a movie about the Heinz family and the Heinz Corporation, just the whole story behind it. And I only know about this because I have a silly ketchup fascination. I got to dig deep into the Heinz lore. Well, ketchup lore. Like, it's a great story about a man that went bankrupt and then still rose from the ashes to then create something that is still leaving an imprint to this day. Because the Heinz Corporation then later on became the Heinz Charity, and they donate a ridiculous amount of money every year as grants. So that's the too long didn't read version, but if you really want to find out how it happened and how it continues to happen, that's what this video is about. Stories like this is why I started believing in God. And I know that I'm a comedian. Like, I know that this whole channel was me fabricating a comedian. Like, from day one, I came on here trying to be Yoel Rex. So I was trying to make reactions, but I was going to wreck the person that I was reacting to. So they were called wrecked actions because I was so tired of the gaslighting on the internet that I was like, somebody needs to bring this back to normalcy. And isn't it funny when you make fun of somebody that is literally lying to get views? And somewhere down that path, I found God. And I zoomed out and I was all like, this YouTube channel is really just a person that is slowly getting closer to God. So, without further ado, let's get into the Heinz story, because it's beautiful. The 1800s could be attributed to a special time in America. During the era of the Industrial Revolution, people started making enough money to be able to have a little bit of spare change. This was unheard of the time. And with that spare change going kashing in people's pockets, you would be able to now afford new luxuries in life. You could afford all sorts of condiments and trinkets. This led to a wave of people experimenting as street vendors, selling all sorts of condiments they made in their kitchen without washing their hands. Then, to make a quick buck, they would go to the streets and try to sell you this nonsense they made for that spare change that's going kashing in your pocket. People would make all sorts of condiments and try to lure you in to get your money. But like I said, this is the 1800s. People were not washing their hands. People didn't even know what germs were. They probably thought they meant Germans. And FDA-approved products? Lol. That didn't even exist back then. People were just simply using the YOLO method, and if you got sick after using some street vendor's product, then you're gonna tell everybody that you almost died, and then no one's gonna buy from that person, destroying their reputation. But even then, people would just get sick no matter what, so getting sick from food was just the norm. But there was one guy in Pittsburgh that just had enough of the couldn't stand people getting sick all the time. So he decided when he was gonna go to the streets and sell himself, he was gonna make sure he's selling some good quality goods. This person's name was John Henry Heinz. Born in Pittsburgh to two German immigrants, he would help out his mother in her garden. And at a very young age, he tried to perfect the perfect cucumber so he can make the perfect pickles and sell them on the streets at the prime age of 9 years old. So this little young entrepreneur founded his first business in 1869 that focused on selling horseradish. But unfortunately, had to call it quits by 1875. And even then, they claimed that everything would have went fine and dandy with that business if it wasn't for the financial panic of 1873. I didn't even know there was a financial panic in 1873, but now I do. But no worries, because Henry was a dreamer. And Henry convinced one of his family members to give him a salary for a whole year while he figures out this whole bankruptcy mess. And thanks to his cunning convincing, he was able to go back into business a whole year later, but this time he introduced a brand new product, ketchup. But you see, there was already a sauce called catsup, and then the cat said, "Not much, just meowing." I'm just kidding, but no, literally, there was already a sauce called catsup, but it wasn't made with tomatoes. It was made with fermented fish. So Henry just perfected making the same sauce, but he just used tomatoes instead. And the thing that set him apart from all the other street vendors that just make people sick, he made sure to put all of his packaging in clear bottles so that the consumer can see inside of the bottle, raising that consumer confidence. So whenever you go to the grocery store today and you see packaging that you can see inside of, just know that that wasn't normal back then. People had to hide where they were selling people because people would constantly get sick. But not Henry. Henry had nothing to hide. And guess what? Who would have ever knew? Not me, obviously, and I don't think anybody actually. But apparently, people do not like to be lied to. Apparently, people like it when people are upfront with them, and like it when people are honest with them. Bro, what? Say what? I didn't know that. People could always now trust on the Heinz brand to not give them any bamboozlery. And they did anything to raise the consumer confidence. They even had horses on buggies, which is the same thing as a work van today, but the horse on buggy really looks cool. Look at them transporting ketchup and horseradish to the people. And as the money was piling in, Henry started cozying up with politicians, lobbying the politicians to pass the Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906. So get this landmark of a bill made it illegal for companies to mismarket what's actually in the packaging, and even later on gave birth to the FDA. So thanks to stupid ketchup, we now have laws that keep us from getting sick. Imagine if ketchup wasn't invented. We'd still be puking every time we ate something. Next Thanksgiving dinner, you need to drop this fact at the table. And I guarantee you, when everyone's driving back home, they'll be like, yo, Kevin is really smart. Kevin is really smart for knowing that. about ketchup. So listen, it's not that Henry was always a God-fearing man, but the legacy that he obviously tried to leave behind is to be a person that does things for the greater good. As the Heinz Corporation kept expanding into more and more factories and being able to mass produce more and more products to the people, Henry was on a mission to build his consumer confidence even more. That he introduced factory tours so that the people that buy his products can even go into the factory themselves and see how sanitary they are, which only build more confidence with the consumer. I mean, the factories were in Pittsburgh, but, and this is a major but, the Heinz Corporation uses the Heinz seed, which they grow in Ohio. So yeah, they even have their own special tomatoes that they still use to this day in their ketchup. So from ground to table, they had the operation down packed, and it worked. The people loved ketchup. Here's a review of what somebody said about ketchup in the 1800s. Ketchup tastes good. And keep in mind, these people just survived horrible living conditions, a horrible financial collapse in the United States, but yet they're still giving ketchup a chance. And keep in mind that, like, today you might not think twice about ketchup, but back in those days, to eat a home-cooked meal was the highlight of people's days, bro. You know, after working a long day as being a chimney sweep or working at the steel mill, the best thing you had to look forward to was a home-cooked meal, because living conditions just sucked. And that's one thing that Henry detested. Henry wanted to improve people's lives, so he made sure that the employees that came work at the Heinz factories wanted to go to work at the Heinz factory. So Henry came up with this thing called company benefits and amenities. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of those. Like, that's what's up. I mean, in a time that you would think people would still get punched in the face if they showed up to work late and that would be legal, Henry was providing the most for his employees so that they would want to go to work. Acquiring the best talent, in my opinion, he gave him a rooftop garden, a cafeteria, a place to lounge, health insurance, company bonuses, and a manicurist. Can't have my people making ketchup with dirty fingernails. You know, growing up, they would always tell us that the people that work at Google get all of these free benefits. But Google wasn't even the first, bro. So Henry was really building up a name as being a man of the people. And in the making of this video, I can't believe this even exists, okay? I found out that the royal family, all the way in England, produces their own ketchup. British royalty ketchup. Of course, right? But the real story about how the royals found out about ketchup is actually pretty funny. When Heinz was expanding its business and opened up a factory in England, British people thought the quality was so good that Heinz was actually a British company opening up in America. They were dumbfounded when they found out that it was the other way around. So by now you might have guessed the theme. Henry absolutely loved philanthropy. And if we went through every one of his kind acts, I mean, this video would be 5 hours long.
Progressive workplace practices. Heinz's commitment to employee well-being, with benefits like on-site healthcare and education, likely influenced other Pittsburgh businesses and improved overall working conditions in this city. Impact on America. Food safety champion. Heinz's advocacy for the pure food. Android Act significantly improved food safety standards across the country, protecting American consumers. Standardization and quality. Heinz's emphasis on consistent quality and pure ingredients in his products helped establish higher standards for the American food industry. Marketing and branding pioneer. Heinz's innovative marketing strategies, such as the iconic 57 varieties slogan, and focus on branding influenced American advertising and marketing practices.
And he would have never been able to do so much if it wasn't for his 3 children that were highly involved in the company's success. Their names were Irene, Clarence, and Howard. Irene worked at the company but was mostly known for her philanthropic actions. Clarence took very important roles in the company's marketing sector, but Howard was tasked with the most impossible job in the world, because Howard was the one that inherited his dad's position after his dad's passing, and I kind of feel bad for him because he was standing on a giant's shoulders. Howard inherited the company during the Great Depression and World War I era, so it's not like he was tasked with a very easy job. I mean, your dad is the one that took the company from the ground up. Your job was to make sure that the company continues doing whatever it needs to do to stay the company of the people. Keep in mind, the benefits, those only got better. The tours, only more. And the commitment to staying a company that is transparent with its ingredients never went away. And even though Howard did inherit the company during a horrible time, he was known as a hero for allowing families to still be able to get baby food and tomato soup. He also wasn't a pussy. He was actually in World War I, like fighting the bad guys, and a huge advocate for the Armenian genocide because he was bear witness to it. But what I think made Howard such a great success was his wife, okay? Howard married Elizabeth Rust. And Elizabeth Rust, you would think with a last name like that, will come from a family that works in metal, but she comes from a family that is a conglomerate in timber in Michigan. And when you go through her background, you come to find out that she did go to college, but not just any college, okay? She went to the College of Socializing. That'd be like my wife today going to college on twitter.com. Howard, where did Howard go to school? Yale. Of course he did, right? And even though Howard did inherit Heinz LLC, that was already a super successful business, Howard can be discredited by not taking it to an even bigger level. It was during his tenure at Heinz that he plastered the 57 varieties logo that I'm sure everybody's familiar with. Even though they make way more than 57 varieties, even though they already had factories outside of America, Howard was the one that was in charge of overseeing a factory in China, India, even Russia, and Brazil. So it wasn't just an American condiment anymore. It was a worldwide condiment now. The planet has become ketchup-fied. You can just imagine how much money was coming in. And did the family continue being super giving? At any chance they got, they would open up their wallets to help fund schools and hospitals and research, elevating to such a high level of social status that the Queen of England would do regular visits at the Heinz factory in the UK.
Only 5 weeks since the official opening of the new Heinz factory at Kit Green, and once again it's a gala occasion, with hundreds of Heinz employees from Kit Green and Standish lining the road to welcome a very important visitor, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother.
Yeah, talk about having social status. I mean, it really seems to everybody that this was really more what they were focused on, is to just help people versus actually making ketchup. That Howard Heinz created the Heinz Endowment, an endowment with the sole mission of helping give grants for the greater good, making sure that his father's legacy of leaving the planet better than what you inherited with gets passed down from generation to generation. So whatever his dad started gets to keep going. Kind of like the pyramids, if you really think about it, but the pyramids don't produce anything, so Heinz Endowment is cooler than the pyramids, in my opinion. And you know, Howard had children. One of them is named John, like his grandpa. But John didn't want to run the Heinz Corporation. John had his sights at something even better. I mean, can you blame him? The guy was obviously born into a super wealthy family, probably had more trust funds than he knows what to do with, and he was being raised by the Heinz family that keeps giving to charity. I'm assuming he just combined the two and decided that he's better off becoming a senator for Pennsylvania, and guess what? The man won as senator of Pennsylvania. I mean, he didn't do it on his own, okay? He had a wife named Teresa. And keep this name fresh, okay? Because this woman, she's very important in this whole story. So John Heinz, the senator, not the grandpa that started the conglomerate. So when John won for senator, he served a pretty long tenure. A whole 20-year career. He was known in his home state as being a charismatic fellow that really cared about the greater good for his state. I mean, yeah, what sort of Nepo baby isn't like, we need to make life for people better, even though, they were born into like hundreds of millions of dollars, right? God, I feel bad for every one of them. But isn't this the best version of a Nepo baby? My man was sitting on so much money and wanted to make everyone's life better, and he winded up doing so. During his tenure, he passed all sorts of acts that help improve yours and mine's life, like helping in passing in the 1990s Children Television Act that placed certain rules during children programming, limiting the amount of ads that they can see, protecting the youth. He was a supporter of the Hits Act, allowing independent music artists to be able to deduct 100% of their music expenses that then led on to great works of art. and the Job Center Networking Act that helped people find employment and training for a better life. The man was all about making sure that the people can provide a good quality of life for themselves and their families. And the man was also in charge of the Heinz Endowment. And with the Heinz Endowment, he was making Pittsburgh a utopia. He contributed so much to that city's success by providing healthcare resources, education resources, and environmental protection, all through charitable contributions. Can you believe it? Charity, Congress, and a conglomerate. Could this family be any more lucky? Well, unfortunately, in 1991, John Heinz passed away in a horrific plane crash on his way to Washington, D.C., leaving behind his wife and 2 children. 2 little girls even died because the plane hit a playground. And the death was a tragic loss. People really saw him as a potential presidential candidate. He was known as being a person that could bring both parties together to meet in the middle and pass bipartisan acts. I mean, the guy came from super wealth. He didn't need to make any more. And if you look at where his grandpa started, what his dad did, it only made sense that the man was following in that tradition. And when he died, his wife was now left in charge of running the Heinz Endowment. And oh boy, when I found out, and this is where the story is probably going to send a little bit of chills down your spine, but Teresa Heinz took the same energy as John's uncle's wife and continued in the Heinz tradition as continuing to provide more for philanthropy. But in 1995, she winded up marrying John Kerry. And I had to stop and think, wait, John Kerry? Do we live in a simulation? What do you mean, John Kerry? Like John Kerry, the presidential runner against George W. Bush, the guy that lost to Fool Me Once? Pause. Fool me once, can't fool me again.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Now, I could go down that rabbit hole all day long, but I'm going to choose not to, because what if I find something I shouldn't know? And the next thing you know, I'm hanging out with the Clintons. All that I know is that John Kerry comes from the Forbes family. But I'm not going to dig any deeper. And they met in 1990, and a year later, the plane crash happened. And you remember how John Heinz, dad, married a family of notoriety, and people saw John Heinz as a presidential candidate, and later on, Teresa winded up marrying John Kerry, who actually ran for president. There's some things that are just destiny. And if the person that's carrying on the destiny can't do it, somebody else will. I mean, yeah, John Kerry never became president, but he did work in the White House in Barack Obama's cabinet. That same year that they got married in 1995, Teresa winded up selling the majority stock options in Heinz, letting go of the family's connection to the conglomerate that then later on allowed people like Warren Buffett to buy it. The reason for selling it off is because they didn't see themselves as wanting to run a business anymore. They wanted to just 100% focus on philanthropy. And it winded up being the right move, because if you look at the price, she sold 12 million shares for $44 each, and today it's sitting at around 36. And if they would have never done that, they would not be able to, this day, be able to donating grants tens of millions of dollars to people that just want to do art projects. So call them lucky? I don't know. Maybe somebody above is just looking out for them. It was thanks to this sell-off that they're now able to donate tens of millions of dollars per year to people that want to contribute in the arts in Pittsburgh and to medical research and wherever they see fit where the money's going to go towards good use. And ain't it crazy that the only thing left for this family to do was to be a president? And even though that never happened, yet, they still made it all the way into the White House by being a part of Obama's cabinet. So just to make it clear, they're able to donate tens of millions of dollars without having to run a business anymore. They left terminal velocity. They're not operating from the same level me and you are. And ladies and gentlemen, today, the Heinz Corporation is owned by Berkshire and Hathaway, Warren Buffett. And the story behind how Warren Buffett was even able to purchase this business is one of great magnitudes, just like the Heinz family's is. So if you're interested in finding out about the Heinz purchase through Warren Buffett, make sure to subscribe, because that's what the next video is going to be about. So just to recap, We started with an immigrant family with a garden where they perfected on how to make ketchup that was already invented, but it was being created through fish ferment, evolved into a charity that is donating tens of millions of dollars per year, and separated off to a whole business that's giving people good quality products. How can you not believe in God?